Hello there, a warm welcome and a pleasant evening to you all. Well, the Game On with CSN is back with a big bang, and we're going to bring you more sporting personalities and unique faces in this show, what we did all these years, and we're going to continue to do so. Well, tonight it's going to be another unique personality who is a young talented cricketer. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Canadian international and opening batsman Ruvindu Gunasekera to the show. Ruvindu, good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here because we have had many of the unique personalities, like I said, on this seat, and you're one of them. And we are, and honestly, like, I'm privileged to have you on the show. Ravindu, talking about your career, cricket, everything. Before we go on that, just tell us about how did you get involved in cricket?
Actually, where I started cricket was back in Sri Lanka. My father actually played for Sri Lanka A, so I pursued his dream of making the national team. Since I was born, pretty much. And when I moved to Canada, I actually played senior cricket and got involved with the game much more at a higher standard as well. And from there, I went into the under-19 system, which is junior Canadian cricket system. There I performed quite well in 2007. I made my debut to the senior team in 2008 against Bermuda.
So by then, like, you were 16, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I was.
Well, that was a pretty early start.
Yeah, it was. It was good.
Well, how was the experience suddenly, like, from a younger age, moving from Sri Lanka and going to a different setup, different country, and completely a different setup? So how did you find that? How did you manage to adapt and settle in?
Actually, there was a bit of a cultural gap from here, obviously, to North America. And what helped me most was the game of cricket. It remains the same everywhere. The way you play it and the culture of it is always the same. So actually, sports in general helped me bridge that gap.
So you moved to Canada in 2006. So how did you end up in Canada?
Actually, in 2001, we moved as a family. My parents decided to migrate there as they felt that it was easier for me to play sports and also have a better education if we moved abroad, and Canada became their first choice due to their personal choice, I believe.
So if you look at Canada, well, there are plenty of other sports, especially ice hockey is very popular, and then again basketball. So how did you manage to continue in cricket?
As a child, I was always passionate about cricket. Even when I moved there, I would stay up late at night, or I get up early in the morning because of the time zone, difference in the time zone, to watch cricket matches. And at that time, I was a big fan of Sanat Jayasuriya and all the Sri Lankan batsmen. So I had to follow all these guys and learn my style from them. So
you are a left-hander anyway, obviously, and also you bat at the top of the order, and you're opening the batting. So I'm sure, like you said, Sanat would have played a major role in your aspirations and in your career. So have you ever tended to bat like him?
When I was small, I tended to be a bit more aggressive and a bit of a swagger, if you say, to my batting. But now I've figured out who I am as an individual, and I've overcome that, and now it's my own style.
So just tell us a little bit about your lifestyle in Canada.
Actually, I play cricket for the national team, and also, other than that, I'm in the University of Toronto studying accounting, Bachelor of Business Administration. So I'm trying to balance both at the same time, and that's about it.
Well, okay, I'm sure, like, when you went on a younger age, this wouldn't have mattered very much. But then again, mostly for Sri Lankans, when you go away from home, food actually becomes an issue. Until it'll take some time for them to get adapted. But when you do sports, definitely, like, your nutrition programs were on. So how did you manage to adapt to the systems and the nutrition, everything there?
Actually, my family is very traditional in the way we eat, and we love Sri Lankan food. So when I'm at home, or even when I go out, I tend to go to the Sri Lankan restaurants or have a bit more traditional food.
Well, when you're playing there, also you had a small stint here for our Chilamarians when you were playing for under 23 as well. I'm sure, like, that given you a different exposure and experience, definitely. But just tell us about the coaching systems. Is there a major gap in the coaching system, what you find out there, and, like, what you see here?
Actually, there is a huge gap. Every first-class team or club team has a coach here. there it's only a select few clubs that have coaches. Say out of the 12 elite teams in Toronto, there's about 4 coaches, and the rest of the clubs are managed by the senior players or the national players tend to guide all the junior players, and that's how it works. But here you have a professional coach, and you get correct feedback right away after the game. So it helps guide the players and also improve them.
So how often you come back to Sri Lanka?
These days, actually, I've been back quite often because of cricket. Our national team actually has training camps for every World Cup qualifier back here due to the facilities and the close proximity of the grounds and all. Yeah. So it's been good for me.
So where do you call home and where do you feel home?
That's a tough call. I feel at home when I'm actually in Toronto because that's where I lived for more than half my life now. But when I come back, it's like a second home, or I come back to where I started it all, pretty much, because all my family is here. My close relatives, and it's always lovely to see them.
So you said you are here on a training mission. Just tell us about that a little bit.
It's actually the 2020 World Cup qualifier. The World Cup's in Bangladesh in March, and it's a 16-team World Cup. We have a qualifier which consists of 16 teams, and there's 6 spots up for grabs for the associate countries, or the minnows. So last time around we finished actually 6th, and it was a much younger team. This time we have Ashish Bagai and a few of the senior players who came back into the side as well. And it seems to be a much more balanced team, and we're confident about not only qualifying, but also winning the tournament. So.
Well, actually, you can't call them minnows these days because all these teams have become very much of you can call them giant killers, actually.
Exactly.
We have seen Ireland doing that. We have seen Afghanistan doing that. So how do you see Canada when you compare to all these teams? Where do you all stand, and what is the current ranking you all have?
We're actually ranked 15th in ODIs right at the moment. However, we had a bit of a gap from the 2011 World Cup in the last 2 years, where we had a bunch of guys. So right now, I believe we are up to par with Ireland and Afghanistan as far as standards go.
So I'm sure you would have traveled around the world and you have played in many places. Well, just tell us about the conditions in Canada, the wickets and how they move and how they react.
It's actually funny to say, in Canada we have a bit of a subcontinent feel to it, as the wickets tend to be slow and a bit of turn in it, except for my home ground, which is much more true in the sense the ball comes on and a bit in it for the seamers early. But it's generally in Toronto where we play most of our national games and club games. It's more like back home, a bit of spin in it, and it's a bit tough to bat on.
So you're a spinner.
Yeah.
And well, when it comes to bowling, we haven't seen well much of your bowling most of the time. Is it any particular reason you want to restrict yourself or categorize yourself as a batsman or as an all-rounder?
I actually bowl a lot in club cricket and in provincial games back in Toronto, and I also bowled here when I played for Chilamirians and Baduruli in the first class system. But unfortunately, I haven't got much of a chance in the national team because we always carry a genuine leg spinner, and we have quite a few all-rounders in the side. Only myself and the captain don't bowl, so we have 9 options, so it's tough to get a ball.
Well, as a youngster, if you look at the cricket as a whole nowadays, there are 3 different formats. So, well, you being an opening batsman, you're playing in all 3 formats. And how do you adjust and adapt to different formats? It's
actually very tough for a youngster to adapt from a 4-day or a test match to a T20, which is totally opposite. But it's much easier for you to adapt from T20 to ODIs, 50-over matches. So my personal theory is it's more mental, in the sense that I adapt to these conditions and see which my shot selection is based on which game I'm playing. And I tend to be the same for 50 overs and the 4-day as in I like to play a bit of aggressive style to my game. So.
Well, when it comes to ODIs and one days, how do you categorize yourself? Whether you're an anchor or if not, you're an attacking batsman.
My role in the team is to get off to a flyer, per se. So I generally am an aggressive batsman, but depending on the situation, you have to cater for the team. Always.
Well, I'm sure you would have faced, because you were playing in the World Cup as well. You have faced many bowlers, and well, who was your toughest opponent?
Toughest in the World Cup would be Umar Gul. He had quite a good spell against us. It was a pretty close game where we were supposed to we were on top halfway against Pakistan. We were chasing 190, and he bowled a gem of a spell.
Well, also you have travelled to many places. So, what is your favorite venue?
It's always good to come back here and play, especially in the World Cup. We played the first game against Sri Lanka, and it was quite a good atmosphere, which we would not get as an associate country. If we play any other country except for the home side, we wouldn't get a packed house. So it was my favorite venue would be the first game of the World Cup at Hambantota.
So you were playing against a packed house, and well, I'm sure like a lot of people supported you, cheered you. Yes, we've noticed that, we have seen that. Well, how was the pressure is like just to walk in front of, well, I don't know whether to call the home crowd, but then again, like walk in front of like so many people who's cheering you. Then again, you're the opening batsman, and you're facing the likes of Gunasekera, So how did you feel? How was that feeling?
It was actually quite a different feeling, as in. I'm playing for Canada. That's my country that I live in, and I'm playing against my home country where all my cricketing idols are playing for. So, but I just went with the flow and got into my game. Unfortunately, I couldn't help my team win the game, but we'll see next time around.
Well, what was your experience? Because normally when you play cricket, yes, World Cup is the biggest tournament that you can get into, and at this young age, because we have seen many international cricketers, even though they have done quite well, some of them have not never got a chance to play in the World Cup. But at a young age, you got the chance to play in the World Cup, and how did you feel?
Actually, I felt great. I wasn't actually in the system after a bit of a layoff for about 2.5 years. I came back here and I played in the under-23 system, and I did quite well. Also did quite well in the Liste domestic tournament here. That's how I got back into the system. And the first game back against Ireland, we won the game actually, and I was man of the match for that. That's where I pretty much got a concrete spot in the team for the next 3 years.
The rest of the tournament, yeah. Well, I remember the game when you were playing against Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka batted first. In fact, Dilshan scored 50, and Sangakkara scored 92, and Mahela even scored a century. And Sri Lanka was 322 for 7. So what was going through your mind, and especially what was the team talk was like during the innings break?
It was unfortunate in the sense that we at the 20-over mark we were quite up to par in the game, and Mahela and Sangha had a good partnership, and that took the game away from us. But we were going to the second half of the game thinking we were going to get that 326. That's how we play any game.
But it was actually a good bowling performance from Canada. In fact, well, taking 7 wickets.
We bowled very well up front. I think 20 overs for about 90 odd and 2 or 3 wickets down. So our bowling at that time was our strength, and right now it's a bit of a mixture, but it's always good to have a good bowling unit as an associate side.
And then you came out to bat. Well, you were facing the third over, and it was, I guess, if I'm not mistaken, it was Gunasekera who was bowling you, and you went for a cover drive, and well, Dilshan caught you there, and it was a low catch, and well, I think probably you edged it.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a loose ball. I went for it. Should have been 4, but unfortunately, not the day for me.
But I guess actually the score of 322 would have put additional pressure on you.
Not necessarily. Like I said, I tend to be an aggressive batsman, so I don't look at what we're chasing. It's just trying to get the team off to a good start and see what happens from there.
Well, brilliant. Well, Ruvindu, we'll go in for a short break. Once we are back, we'll be talking to you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are taking a short break. Once we are back, we'll be talking to Ruvindu Gunasekera more about his cricket passion and ambition. Hello there, welcome back. You're watching Game On with CSN. Well, today's unique sporting personality is Ruvindu Gunasekera, the Canadian opening batsman. Well, Ruvindu, we've been talking about how you adapted into this game and how did you did well in World Cup as well. Well, let's go back to your debut in ODI. It was in 2008 at the age of 16. And well, it's more or less like Sachin Tendulkar or if not Arjun Ranthanga. Because nowadays, like, you hardly see many youngsters coming in at that age. So how did you feel? What was going through your mind at that time? Because when you walk into a senior team at the age of 16, because mostly if you look at Sri Lankan schoolboys at the age of 16, they normally, like, when they go into the first 11 team, that is some great achievement for them. But you're walking into a national setup, and what was your experience like?
I was actually very surprised to be called up that early. I wasn't in the initial team. However, I was called as a injury replacement for the captain at that time, Ruvindu Gunasekera. So I walked into the dressing room, and with all the senior guys around, they guided me along, and they told me what the next level is and how to achieve certain goals in my cricketing career. And unfortunately, I didn't start off with the best inning. Only made 4 in that game, but it was a stepping stone for the future.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, you just said, like, you were the replacement for you've been called up as the replacement for the captain. So that's a huge boost. And when you walk in, I'm sure there must be a lot of senior guys who's waiting outside and knocking on the door to get into that team. So how did